So if you're around my age, which is 20 years old, you might be feeling a bit alienated from A$AP Rocky at the moment. He's in the same position as Frank Ocean, where because he hasn't released an album in so long, it's very difficult to expect what the album and the music is going to sound like. This isn't a problem for Frank because the fact that he maintains such a low public profile means that his career is truly on pause, and when he decides to unpause it, the same fans who were into Blonde in 2016 are going to come back as if no time has passed. Whereas A$AP Rocky has indeed been flooding our inboxes, or at least keeping them at quite a healthy level of engagement through his branding. He's a celebrity now, and that's part of the joy of his image. You know, seeing him do fashion, seeing him do acting, seeing him do whatever creative pursuits he wants to do with a very likable confidence, swag, and a hint of artistic credibility ties everything really nicely together and makes him a character that we do want to root for. And of course, let's not forget about the music. He has been keeping us healthily fed with singles that have been good quality. When you see him featured on an album, you know you're safe, you're in safe hands. But at the same time, the last single that he released, Pray for the Gang, flopped, and to the point where he kind of had to remove it from YouTube because it was getting such few, wasn't working for the rollout. And if you look at someone like Tyler, the Creator, who also has this brand image of being a multifaceted, artistic creative, it's working out for him because he's keeping you up to date with that in the music. And that's why the music, he is a musician at the end of the day. He's keeping the music side fed. So it's this disconnect where he has the consistency in the craft that someone like Frank Ocean does, the reliability of what to expect, but the fluidity and the exciting fluidity of someone like Tyler, where he really just thrives off of being publicly active. And that means that year by year, when there are more and more new hip hop fans, they know who A$AP Rocky is, but they don't know him for his music. So when we get to Don't Be Dumb in 26, when I found myself looking at the countdown timer, 21 days left, 18 days left for Don't Be Dumb to release, I was thinking, okay, I like the songs of his that I've heard, but am I actually excited for the album? And at that time, I hadn't listened to any of his albums, so I didn't know what to expect, and truthfully, I realized I didn't care. So I wanted to change that, and I wanted to put Don't Be Dumb in the context of his discography and see what it needs to be in order to recoup this attention and this image that I think is at risk of losing a lot of coolness and relevancy if not executed in the right way, and if not reintroduced to the new generation with the justice that such a cornerstone artist like A$AP Rocky really deserves. So over the past week, I've listened to all of his albums. I had technically listened to Testing before, but the other three were completely new to me. And I'm going to paint a brief kind of timeline to just map what the journey has looked like. Not before I take a sip of water. So if we start off with the debut mixtape, Live Love A$AP, already he's an influential voice because he's allowing New York hip hop to be influenced by the South, by Atlanta, and there becomes a through line where he's really pulling you into his world and his life experiences in a way that used the hip hop lyrics much more musically, really just to give you just imagery. And that was the psychedelic and the gangster and the bling and all this stuff. So through all of those influences, and then leading up to Long Live A$AP, the debut album, the second project in the discography, you're basically seeing that world be rich enough to be really highly regarded. The confidence in his work comes from knowledge that his lived life experience is rich enough to be the type of art that he would be inspired by. And this is when the eclectic samples come in. You're getting Imogen Heap, you're getting Florence Welch featured on a song on the deluxe, the sample on Fashion Killer as well. There are lots of production choices that are taking influence from different subgenres of hip hop, but also different genres of music in general, leaving Rocky himself being the only through line, which directs the viewer's attention to ASAP Rocky as the connective tissue between all of that, rather than him being just a regular pop star that would be hopping on a train. So this then gets to a apex on the next album, At Long Last ASAP, where it almost feels like a kind of twisted fantasy type project where budgets are high, celebrity status has been achieved but not yet superstar and untouchable GOAT status has been achieved. There's still a hunger and it feels very exciting still, but more an extension of the ASAP Rocky brand and kind of diving into his subconscious. You know, you have the alter ego of the Lord Pretty Flacco Jody. It's really the inflection point where I think he starts becoming the world himself. Or he starts having enough motion to be the world himself. He's no longer catapulting off of the psychedelic, the gangster, the bling. He is the world. And I think this becomes the dangerous part to the music, because by the time that we get to testing, this album was made with this motto: I just wanted to try things out and I wanted to just see where my intuitions took me. And we all know that this was a very hit or miss idea, very hit idea. Praise the Lord, Buckshot, ASAP Forever. These are big songs, timeless even. And this is sort of an issue with his previous discography, is that it has kind of dated. And so for new hip hop fans who are going back into artist discographies, like, you know, if you're discovering Ye for the first time, or if you're discovering Jay-Z or Kendrick, you are getting quite a dated selection from ASAP Rocky, and it is less appealing. And that is part of the reason why I didn't gravitate towards that when I started getting into hip hop. But what comes with that era is also that rich world. And I think a lot of the reason why testing kind of fails is because there isn't really a connective tissue between all the experiments that he's trying, because we're past that point where ASAP Rocky really is the brand at this point and he doesn't have anything else to rely on. And because his image is so consistent, not necessarily vulnerable, I mean it is, and there are songs on there which are, but the charisma and the confidence, the catch-all kind of just assertion of self is now no longer in any context. Even looking at the ASAP name, that is a crew tag that he has taken with him to his superstar levels of fame to keep representing his roots. And because he's a proud member of the ASAP mob, and did not need to shed it like in Corday's situation. Already. Rocky is the guy's individual name, artist name, but you hear so many people referring to him as ASAP just casually because they don't know what ASAP Mob is. This is not me accusing Rocky of abandoning his day ones, but there is a bit of a disconnect. That means that a lot of modern listeners haven't been brought up with what ASAP means. And you also look at the effect that collaboration with the ASAP Mob had on him musically, going back to the ASAP Mob collab projects, when each song has 3, 4, 5 people on it. When ASAP Rocky shows up and does his bit, he doesn't have to be revolutionary with the lyrics, he doesn't have to be revolutionary with the flow, although, you know, oftentimes it is very entertaining. Like, It Feels So Good, that's a very essential track too. He just has the aura, right? Aura only works in context. It only works if you have people's attentions to farm the aura for you, you know? With testing, it was really that vacuum. So the hits were good, the misses were forgettable, and you were just kind of left with that. And so the discography is left on this note where, because he is making music according only to his brand and not to the aesthetic, you are getting truly timeless experiences from ASAP Rocky. Like, I think Praise the Lord and ASAP Forever, they really, really benefit from there being no one else who could make that song apart from Rocky. With ASAP Forever, it showcased the sampling choices, the confidence, and the importance of the ASAP Mob to his life. With Praise the Lord, it shows the connections, of course. There is that contextual element. But then the misses on the album are forgettable. Whereas on the previous albums, even if there wasn't a song that was as strong or as iconic as the other songs, you would still be in the world. And ultimately, it's a lot more consistent. And that aligns with, again, with A$AP Rocky's musical image because he is Mr. Consistent. Now, moving into Don't Be Dumb, he is not in a stage in his career where having the same image is enough. You know, he has got to this new image of himself being the world, being the celebrity that's doing the runways, that's doing the fashion collections, everything like that is in this art space. That is a rich enough world, and he has access to all of these high profile collaborations in other fields and other genres. Like you look at Jessica Pratt for the Hijack song, and what an incredible song that is as well, if we're talking about genre bending. Also FKA Twigs in the Testing era. It is a rich enough world, and we know that. And dare I also say that the psychedelic and substance-fueled world from the original mixtapes doesn't translate as well to the current teenage zeitgeist, where sobriety culture, far fewer people clubbing, drinking, all of this, that place for substances isn't really there anymore in today's culture. You look at artists like Future and Travis Scott who are, and Playboi Carti who are using those topics in their music, but that's not the reason that the general audience is connecting with their music. You know, it's much more the brand, and it's much more the sound and everything like that. It's not the lifestyle, from my perspective, as subjective. So I think there is a strong need for world building for Don't Be Dumb. And at the moment, I'm not quite seeing it. I'm seeing a repeat of the consistency and the bravado and the unwillingness to change and cruise along. You know, Don't Be Dumb itself is a very surface level title that does not require any sort of engagement or any type of immersion. It's actually very outward sort of, I don't know how to describe it, but it's very easy to just sort of say and forget about, and just say, don't be dumb.
Don't be dumb, let's go.
With the Tim Burton aesthetic as well, like what we're just supposed to be like, oh, A$AP Rocky's cool because he's got Tim Burton on his side. You know what I mean? Like this could easily be read as just purely like thin aesthetics, rather than as an extension of A$AP Rocky's overall message and existence as a creative in this world, and therefore, you know, immersion in him as a character. So that type of world needs to be built. I think the way to do that is with eclectic collaborators. We need Rihanna introducing the album. We need Danny Brown in the stage that he's at in his career with the hyperpop direction. We need that influence on here. And also, given his musical history with A$AP Rocky, establishing themselves as alternative positions in hip-hop, coming back different stages of their career now, I think would really work out. We need Caroline Polachek's voice. You know, if you had Imogen Heap before, you need Caroline Polachek now. And hella features. I think this is the thing. We need to see A$AP Rocky musically exist and sort of bounce off of as many different touch points as we can, in the same way that he does that in his celebrity world, in the same way that he has all of these connections, and we see him react to, you know, he's always on the fashion, what's that guy called, People Gallery. He's like, damn, you know, like that's the exciting part about following A$AP Rocky. We need to be reminded of that. We need him to make also more simple songs that are trend hopping and forgettable and whatever, to show you that he still really is that guy. And also, in order to put those genre bending songs into their context as well. We just need an update, and at the moment, it's been very vague. It's been very shouty.
Let's go.
It's been very, if you know, you know, and that can be exclusionary in some ways. So that's the problem. Clips handled this problem really well, coming back, reintroducing the Clip spirit to young people, having themselves as the through line, proving that they're timeless. They don't need to be trend hopping. They just need to be themselves. Of course, that was a very hands-on rollout, and unfortunately, Rocky can't really do the same rollout because we're just going to get fed up of seeing him as a result of all the delays in the Don't Be Dumb rollout. So he's kind of put himself in an awkward position, and it's going to be impossible to get that type of hype back in the same way that Clips did. But regardless, I'm still at least tentatively excited, and I want to be invested for the ASAP Rocky album in 2026, because as I said, this is if you the audience member haven't been convinced to listen to ASAP Rocky's music at this point, absolutely, he has classics on every single album. They are not all dated and unappreciable, but at the same time, yes, it's very easy to be alienated from his mission, because he does just cruise and careen on that carefreeness that does risk not bringing us along for the ride. So if you want to be along for my ride, hit the subscribe button, and we'll see what happens on January 16th. And comment your experiences with ASAP Rocky, your favorite songs, whether you're in the ASAP Rocky culture, whether that means you're excited for the album or if you're completely new to it. I would love to build the three-dimensional world of ASAP Rocky and what he looks like in the comments section. If you're watching this on release day, that means it's December 31st. But if you only catch it the day after, that means it's January 1st. I'd throw that one in there. The absolute banger.